Hey everyone, Tim Schofield here, and Samsung just released a new phone, and this is more in the budget range at $400, the Galaxy A35 5G, and it'll be really interesting to see what Samsung can provide at that price point. Oh, and by the way, I am working on a new desk setup tour video. That's coming very soon. But with the Galaxy A35, you do get a 120 hertz AMOLED display, a triple camera setup, and obviously we'll take a couple pictures with the flagship and kind of put them side by side to sort of see how the cameras compare. Anyways, let's dive into it. My unboxing of the new Galaxy A35 from Samsung. Let's get started. Here's the box of the Galaxy A35 5G. I will say they do also offer trade-in deals online for their phone, so it can become even cheaper. I will link to those down in the description of the video below. But let's continue through. You do get a SIM ejection tool. Also inside, you've got a USB Type-C to USB Type-C cable for charging, quick start guide, and I believe that's it. Yep, just the phone, the Galaxy A35 5G. This is the blue color, I believe is what they sent. Let's take it out of this paper. Very flat sides and round corners, I'm noticing right away. This color is called Awesome Navy, in case you're wondering, but while we boot this up for the first time, let's take a closer look at this hardware. Down at the bottom, we've got our microphone, USB Type-C port for charging one of the speakers. Moving along on the right side, like I said, a lot of real estate to hold on to with the flat sides, and then it sort of levels up just a little bit of a ramp to the power and volume rockers, which are a little bit more round, so not quite as flat there. But when you do hold the phone, your thumb sort of rests underneath the power button, so it's still really comfortable. And then up towards the top, another microphone. There's our SIM card slot. Oh, and by the way, a bit of a hidden surprise here. It's not just a SIM card slot, but on the flip side is a micro SD card slot, which is very rare to find in phones nowadays. Very minimal camera bump overall with that triple camera system there. We'll dive into that in just a second. And then along the left side, absolutely nothing, just completely flat, so nothing raised at all. Some Samsung branding down at the bottom. A closer look at that color and the signature style of Samsung phones with the triple camera system. You have a 50 megapixel main lens with optical image stabilization, and then an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle lens. And the last one isn't a telephoto, it's a 5 megapixel macro lens so you can get closer to a subject. Anyways, now that our phone has booted up, I'm gonna run through the startup process and talk about anything that's noteworthy. You can use Face Unlock or the in-display fingerprint scanner. Setting our thumb down, you get a little bit of haptic feedback, and I wanna point out while I was typing in my Wi-Fi password and using the keyboard, I did actually like the haptics. I was impressed. You know, at a $400 price point, you don't quite know what you're gonna get out of the vibration motor, but so far so good. It's very light. It's a pretty subtle vibration feedback, so I'll have to wait to see the full strength of the vibration motor, but so far so good. Continuing through, just setting this finger up, taking a little bit of time, which is totally fine as long as it's quick and accurate once we get to the home screen, which I will, of course, test this out. I'm not even reading what it's saying to do, so anyways, there we go. A few options. You can have the fingerprint always on, even when the screen is off. Definitely keep that on. Great to be able to just set your thumb down without having to turn the screen on. You can also show an animation and an icon when the screen is off. So you can actually have tap to show never, or when you have an always on display. So a few nice options for that fingerprint scanner. You do have your option for light or a dark mode on this display. You can schedule it later in settings too. All right, we are all set up and ready to go with that flat display, 6.6 inch Super AMOLED display at 1080p resolution. And again, it has a 120 hertz refresh rate, which seems like it's enabled out of the box. Let's quickly jump into settings to check that. Go to display, motion smoothness. It's on adaptive, which I normally keep. It'll change depending on the type of content shown, or you can force 60 hertz, which will not look quite as smooth, but it will save a little bit of your battery, but definitely use adaptive because it looks so smooth when using that higher refresh rate. Quickly going back into settings and scrolling down for display, there's a few other options too, such as that navigation bar. You don't have to use buttons. You can actually switch it over to gestures if you'd like to swipe up for home, swipe in the corner for back and pull up and pause to get to your recent apps. And very quickly, side by side, the Galaxy S24 Ultra, that top tier phone from Samsung, over $1,000 against this $400 Galaxy A35. Just taking a look at overall design in general, obviously going to be just a bit different of a style, a little bit more round on the sides as opposed to flat. Obviously a bigger display on the S24 Ultra, but I will test out the two cameras side by side in just a second. Speaking of, let's jump into the camera system just so you can get an idea. Samsung does add a lot of good features to their camera application, which is nice. Testing out that shutter speed, not too bad. Seems to be pretty snappy overall. To get into that ultra wide, you go to that 0.5 lens. It will bring a lot more into your shot. 2x will just be digital zoom. Like I said, there's no telephoto lens, but for macro mode, that's something, you know, where you get really close to the subject. I believe it should auto switch, or if we go over here, I don't know what fun is. Actually, I don't remember ever seeing this. Fun mode, try sparkles. Okay, so it uses a bunch of filters and stuff. Interesting. Okay, so it's a fun way to use filters and such on your phone. Going over to video real quick, let's see what sort of resolution we can shoot in. Looks like 4K 30 or 1080 60, so not quite 4K 60 frames per second. And then when I go into more is where you're gonna see those pro modes, which is nice to have in a $400 phone. Pro video as well, night mode. There's that macro. So now 3 to 5 centimeters away will get you, you know, a clear image, which is kind of crazy. You'll see how in focus it still is, even when I'm this close to the camera lens. So it's a lot of fun to use. Honestly, I don't find myself using it all that much. All right, it's time. I'm gonna go outside and take some side-by-side pictures between the flagship Samsung phone and their $400 phone. So I tried taking some different pictures in different lighting situations. First off, you have a portrait mode with that rear camera. You can definitely see a difference in the face texture and color. Then with a lot of light in the background, both handled it pretty well, but the Ultra definitely did a better job balancing the light. Again, just lower light with color temperature differences, etc. Going outside in bright light, you can tell differences, but still the A35 held up pretty well using that ultra wide angle lens and the standard lens. I want to point out with that shot of the flowers, there's a clear difference in the amount of detail you can get out of that shot. And then again, with the ultra wide, the colors are a little more washed out on the A35. And just for fun and for my sake, I took a 10x shot. The obvious winner, of course, because there are dedicated zoom lenses on the Ultra, but still wanted to give you an idea of what that digital zoom can do. Now, very quickly, I'd like to test out that in-display fingerprint scanner right there. So setting our thumb down, it seems to be pretty quick overall. Setting our finger down with the screen off, it worked. There we go. It seems to be just a tad slower than the S24. Let's see here, setting it down at the same time. You'll notice just a bit of a difference. So a little bit slower. I believe it's not, this is an ultrasonic and this one is an optical fingerprint scanner. So there is a difference in terms of the tech of these two. You'll notice how much snappier that was to unlock. It's just a fingerprint scanner reading speed. When we do swipe down, I want to show some quick shortcuts that you have, like link to Windows. You have your standard quick share, which is standard across Android nowadays. Multi-control, when you are in the Samsung ecosystem, you can control multiple devices. By the way, you do get a 5,000 milliamp hour battery in this phone, which should last a good amount of time, so that's always great to see. Themes, lock screen always on display is an option, and then you have advanced features right here, such as side button, multi-window, motions and gestures. If you do go into labs, you can turn on multi-window for all applications. Motions and gestures is nice. Lift to wake, double tap to turn screen on and off, palm to capture. There's a few different ones that are useful, but yeah, double tapping the screen will turn it off. Double tapping it again will turn it on. So anyways, that's my unboxing of the new Galaxy A35 5G from Samsung. Drop a comment, let me know what you think. Like I said, I will link to it down in the description of the video. If you think it's worth $400, it is nice to see this display technology come to this price point. A 120 hertz AMOLED screen is really nice to have, trust me. But a lot more content coming soon, so be sure to click that subscribe button down below. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And as always, thanks for watching.